So it has finally begun. The final arc of Boku no Hero Academia's anime. The villains get introduced. And I gotta say, the way the villains were introduced at the end of this episode met my expectations. And that music, when you see the big warp gate open up and they're just walking through, that was so fucking badass. I wish I could see the anime-only's reactions to that one scene. Just when they see this giant gate open up, you see a bunch of villains just walking through, and all the students thinking it's a part of a training exercise, and when they realize that Aizawa is getting serious, he's putting on his, entire mask and all that, getting ready to go in and fight. That shit right there got me really hyped up, and just seeing that, I'm like, yo, it's gonna be so fucking epic, because I know what to expect, but I am so excited to see it animated. Oh, I cannot fucking wait. I cannot wait to see some scenes animated. It's gonna be badass. And so, I want to dive into something real quick. So, I forget, a long time ago, when the character that walked out of the portal first, the person that has the hand on their face, I gave that person a nickname a long time ago. Now, I know the person's real name, which I'm not going to spoil for anime onlys, so I'm trying to think, what did I call this character before his name was introduced? I think it was Crazy Hand? Dr. Hand? I think it was Dr. Hands. I think that's exactly what I called the character that walked out of the portal. I think I called him Dr. Hands, but it's very funny now that I think about the name I attached to him. But anyways, though, the character, I just gotta ask right now, anime onlys, how do you feel about the design of this character? I want to pull up his picture real quick. How do you feel about the design of, the hand on his face, the red eye and all that, his hair color, and just the way his presence was when he walked out of the warp gate? How do you feel about this villain? And, I mean, I want to let you know right now, one of the main things about Boku no Hero Academia is when it comes to the designs of their characters, and villains especially are something that are really amazing when it comes to this series. Like, the designs of the villains stand way above the other designs of any other character in this series, but also, they're just really unique when it comes to a manga in this day and age, because it reminds me a lot of, different villains and character designs you would see from maybe Marvel or DC, and that's exactly what I'm reminded of when I see some characters like this that we see in this episode that pop up. They have some really interesting and cool designs that make them very menacing. So, one thing I want to talk about besides that, however, is that 13, the Hero 13, he makes a very good point in this episode and really wants to emphasize how deadly quirks can be. It's something that not probably many of us have probably thought about, maybe majority of anime onlys haven't thought about. When you think about it, a lot of characters, like Bakugo, and even All Might, a lot of characters have deadly abilities if they were used wrongly. For instance, they have a lot of abilities that could easily kill someone, like the black hole ability that 13 has. If he was to use his black hole for, bad, imagine what he could do. He could easily destroy and kill thousands, no problem whatsoever, because he can actually use black holes. You can already imagine how OP that ability probably could be if he was to use that ability in the middle of a lot of people. That would probably kill thousands. So 13 was trying to emphasize that sometimes people have these quirk abilities that could be very devastating. Not many people really take the time to think about that, because majority of people nowadays in this day and age are born with a quirk ability and they don't think much about it. They don't really think, oh, this person has a quirk that, has super strength, but I never realized that, since he has super strength, he could probably punch my face in and break every bone in my face. You get the point. The main thing is that right now this training exercise was just trying to show us that some quirks can be there and easier to kill others, and you need to be able to control them or you're going to cause harm to others. For instance, what's going on with Izuku. Izuku at this time, he needs to learn how to control his ability, because if he was to, let's say, hit someone, he wouldn't be able to hold back. That's a perfect example, because right now Izuku's recently gotten his quirk ability from All Might, and if he was to use this ability and hit someone, he wouldn't be able to hold his strength back, and he would probably obliterate someone, kill them completely, and you could already imagine what that would be like. I mean, it would probably just destroy his mind, realizing he murdered someone, but also just realizing that the ramifications that he murdered someone with All Might's quirk after he got it, it would just be devastating for him. So, I mean, you gotta think that at this time, a lot of quirks can be really deadly. And I mean, it seems like it'd be kind of obvious, but not many characters or probably people have actually took the time to really think about that. So, just because they're pro heroes doesn't mean that they could probably use their quirk abilities to the fullest like they would like, is because it could be rather deadly. For instance, you know, 13, how he has the black hole ability. He probably can't use the full extent of his abilities because it is extremely deadly. Now, another couple things to dive into is that All Might, he has a little bit of a monologue in this episode. He lets us know what is currently going on with his state of life and also how his strength is holding up. As we know, All Might has been getting increasingly weaker over time after the wound he has, and he now can't really transform into his full-powered state like he used to in the past. So he's not prime All Might. He's not at maximum potential. He doesn't have his maximum strength when he met Izuku in the earlier portions of the series. And it is revealed in this episode, ever since he gave his quirk ability to Izuku, he has been weakening slowly. And on top of that, he realizes he has become a lot slower. When he jumped up in the air in this episode, he's like, have I become slower? He actually says that, and it emphasizes the point that All Might is no longer that pinnacle of strength he once was in the past. So he is actually getting weaker as days go on. And on top of that, he has actually lost time when it comes to his transformation. He cannot, you know, become bulky and buff like the All Might we know as long as he used to after what he did in the earlier portions of the series. Because when he forced himself to transform again to save Izuku and Bakugo, he forced himself, weakened his body even more just to be able to bring out his power before he could save them, but at the cost of him not being able to transform in the future at long periods of time. Now it's even a shorter time, so now he has a limiter, a shorter limiter set on him. So this actually adds a huge problem, because let's look at what this episode is trying to emphasize. All Might right now is powered down. Apparently, he goes along the lines to say, he's like, I need to rest in the lounge. He has to rest in the lounge, he's off in the distance, and he's kind of not there at the moment when these villains are storming in. So All Might at this time has ran out of time. He doesn't have the time to fight anymore. He can't transform without weakening himself even more. So if All Might was to transform, like let's say next episode or whatever, it would mean that his timer is going down even more. He's weakening himself even more than he already is. So you get the point. It's already a very bad situation. And what would happen if villains found out about the truth about All Might being in a weakened state? Obviously, they would go after him. They would realize, oh, he's weak. He's no longer that prime person, the symbol of peace that he is. Let's kill him. Let's get him out of the picture. It would be a lot easier to do. So you can already imagine how bad that would be. And then you add on top of that that Izuku also has the quirk ability of All Might, and if someone was to find out about that, you can already begin to imagine how bad that would be for Izuku. He'd be hunted down. He would be experimented on, hunted down, killed just for being related to the symbol of peace. That's what would probably happen to Izuku. Now, moving on to the earlier portions of this episode, which focus a lot on Ida, he's a character that I don't think many would probably really like in the earlier portions of this series. I know when I first saw Ida, I was kind of okay with his character, but I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is like a very good character. I wasn't like that. I really wasn't. And Ida as a character, this is kind of the episode to showcase him and give him characterization, which I said already in my anime reviews that a lot of the characters in Boku no Hero Academia will get a lot of spotlight and get some characterization, and you will begin to kind of grow attached to them, which Ida is one of those prime examples of a character getting, you know, some of the spotlight and showcasing some of their qualities as a character. And, you know, we get to see how Ida would be a very good leader, someone that could help out in bad situations. If, for instance, there's a lot of, you know, villains storming in, like we have at the end of this episode, he could kind of calm down the panic going on and say, hey, everybody, calm down. I know you're all desperate to run away. We just need to calm down. We need to work together, and we can figure this out. Ida's the type of character that is someone you would want to be your leader. Someone that can actually lead a group of heroes to their destination and keep them safe. And that's kind of what this episode is trying to show. Since he is going to be, you know, the class leader, the class representative, he has to be able to lead. He has to be someone that can actually make sure he can control the class in a way to where he can help them out if something bad happens. And Izuku realizes this. Even though Izuku is the main character, which the obvious choice would be Izuku to be the class representative, someone to be in that position that Ida got in the end of this episode, it still makes a lot more sense if it was Ida. But usually when it comes to manga or anime, the main character is the person that gets the top spot, which at this time, Izuku didn't get that. He actually gave it away. He's like, I feel like Ida deserves it more than I do. After what he did in this episode, I believe he deserves it more. So once again, Boku no Hero Academia is showing very good writing and giving the spotlight to other characters that actually deserve it. Not just our main focus character, Izuku and maybe All Might. We're actually getting other characters that are getting a huge portion of the spotlight and kind of setting them up for future things that could happen in later on in the series. So, Ida as a character, I gotta ask anime onlys right now, how do you feel about him? How do you feel about his personality to what he kind of tries to strive to be? We gotta find out that he actually has his brother as his ideal self. He looks up to his brother as his, you know, kind of person he wants to be and improve to be. It's kind of similar to how Izuku is, how he looks up to All Might, and All Might's his symbol to constantly improve to become the #1 hero. That's how Ida looks at his brother. He looks at his brother like Izuku looks at All Might. So it's kind of very similar situation. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about, you know, Ida being like he is? How do you feel about his personality and his design and his, you know, strive to continuously be a very good hero and a good leader? How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments below. Now, there's a couple of things here and there that also happen in this episode. We got a little bit of comedy moments here and there. We got the little conversations and characterization going on between the individual characters that were on the bus. We got Suyu talking. I love her voice actor, by the way. I haven't actually talked about her much, which we will be talking about her very soon in the upcoming episodes. But right now, I really love her voice actor. I can't wait to hear more from her. Now, Bakugo was also being teased in this episode, and I love that so much because Bakugo's personality, he has a very rotten personality. I think everybody by now already knows that. And our cast of characters that were on the bus, they were all making fun of Bakugo. They were putting him down, saying, you got a rotten personality and all that. And this is something that Bakugo most likely has never experienced before in his life, because if we go back to the flashbacks we had of Bakugo, there was many people that constantly idolized Bakugo as someone that was very special, powerful, someone that you shouldn't think that is actually bad or can do any wrong. And when we saw that in the flashbacks, it kind of adds a whole new perspective in this episode, how people are starting to look at Bakugo as an equal, and how they're kind of not really going to deal with his shit and say, oh, we're going to kiss your feet and think you're the best shit ever. They're not going to do that. They're actually going to be teasing him, making fun of him, and also trying to be, you know, just on equal terms with him. So I really like that. It gets to show you how Bakugo is going to fit in with all the other characters in the series as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about the events at the end of this episode? How do you feel about, you know, Hero 13? How do you feel about, you know, Dr. Hand's not going to reveal the name? I know how his real name is said or what his real name is. I'm just saying I'm going to call him Dr. Hands because spoiler reasons. How do you feel about the designs? I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.